Shemai everyone, it's JonnyVR here back with the final Doctor Who review of this season, this year. Who knows when it's going to come back. But I was watching in the cinema, so I'm a little bit late but with this one, but I just got back. So guys, I cannot do this without going into details. So I'm going to keep this spoiler-free part as short as possible, so that we can get into the details of what just happened. What did we just see here? So, spoiler-free, I think as a finale, I think more or less it hits all of the conclusions you might expect from a season-long arc. I think it does. I mean, going into it, there was a whole lot of story threads that were being set up throughout the season and in the last episode. I think more or less it manages it. It does take a few liberties to speed up or make easier the plot to bring people to where they need to be, this kind of thing. Some things where I thought were a bit too we're winging it and we're gonna quickly sort out a few things just to move it on to get to the main things. But overall, as a finale, to the series arc, it was, I think, very, it was decent. You had, of course, the enemies. One thing that I am disappointed about is the inclusion of Omega, from which he was teased at the end of last season. I was quite disappointed with this. I don't know about you, but to me, is I think maybe it would have been better to not have if it was going to be like this, and particularly the portrayal I thought was a bit disappointing. I think if any Whovian wanted to see Omega me, I wanted to see him, I think it will be a little bit disappointing. I think that's one aspect of the finale that I was disappointed with, because I've been saying for years that I wanted to see Omega return. He did, but if it's going to be million years until we see him again, it was a shame that it was this, I think. That being said, there was some interesting dynamics with the new Rani as a villain, and who knows what's going to happen next. We'll see. So many plot threads that not only were sort of tried to be tied up in this season, but also set up. At one point in the episode, when it was coming to the end, I was like, okay, now they're in setting up mode. So I guess spoiler or not, the show is not going to end. And this is for sure. And there's a massive thing at the end. If you haven't already know, if it hasn't leaked to you, I tried to stay away from all the leaks, and for the most part I did. So this was a massive surprise. But I was aware of some rumors. But what happens at the end of the episode happens, adds a whole new other emotional dynamic to it. Something that kind of hasn't been attempted in Doctor Who in the modern era, where, what happens. But man, I cannot wait to go into details about this in the spoiler section. So I think for all the spoiler-free purpose, I think definitely watch it if you haven't already. You do not want it to be spoiled online. Apologies to the people who have had it spoiled online. Watch the episode. But I think overall, I'm happy with the finale, much more than last season's finale. Has a lot, the guest cast and everything. It feels big. It feels like a big episode throughout. Lots of surprises along the way. Emotions, high stakes, this kind of thing. Very disappointed with Omega, though. So with all that, I'm going to go into spoiler territory. So go on, get out of here and watch the episode. Here's your spoiler warning. So basically, right from the beginning, I thought, it just doesn't... It takes a while for it actually to come down. It just starts and it doesn't stop. Starting off with how the Doctor is saved from the fallen piece of the Bone Palace. The door opens and who should pop out? Anita from Joy to the World. And I think everyone in the cinema that I was watching was like, whoa, look who it is. Because she seemed like an important character. Like in Joy to the World, the fact that they spent so much time in Joy to the World with her, she just seemed so important. And the fact that she shows up was a satisfying payoff for me, because you see the Time Hotel again, inside and outside. And I thought Stephen Moffat had said that for some reason unknown at this point, that he had seen the script for this finale. So this is the reason why he was writing the episode about the Time Hotel, and of course with the finale he playing a role, of course he would have seen. So I thought this was a really cool way to bring that aspect to here, and the fact that like she always was watching for the Doctor, got the little like clips of previous episodes, like when she saw Matt Smith and she saw like John Pertwee, then she saw Ncuti dancing with Rogue and kind of got jealous and stopped looking for him. I did wonder when she appeared as pregnant whether they were going to say that in that time, that year in the hotel that Ncuti spent with her, that the baby was his. But it turned out not to be the case. They explained that away, and they even explained that away further along later on in the episode. So the episode is pretty interesting because they use the Time Hotel to blur the two realities, or to bring back the present time, because at that point when the clock is striking 12, it resets one day back, and then the day starts again. It's not May 24th, it's May 23rd, and the Wish world continues. But when the Time Hotel is open, the actual time is like bleeding through. So she opens time doors from the Time Hotel to the unit tower to reset the unit tower. So then the unit tower is not appearing as the Wishwood, it's appearing as it should be. Everyone's in their proper uniforms and things like that. At one point they do have like a very easy way to bring people back. So like Rose Noble appears, and then the unit basically uses like a chip inside Ruby, inside Mel, inside is it Shirley? Yeah, to bring them like back into the real world, and they kind of just all come back to unit, and that's the base of operations. The Rani, of course, realizes that this is happening, and so she sends the Bone Beasts to attack unit, in which I thought was actually a pretty cool, action mode. It was cool seeing it in the cinema. I think it's we have this massive unit tower, and seeing it come under attack and having to defend itself and like rotating like a Dalek, I thought it was pretty cool. And seeing all hands on battle stations, Colonel Ibrahim and Susan Twist, all doing various things, shooting lasers and things like that. I thought it was pretty cool. But all of this happened all at the same time. It's fast paced. Also at the same time, they're building like a zero room, or a room, because at the end of the day they want to save Poppy, who is the child of Doctor and Belinda, from the Wish. Like she's a Wish child, and then it becomes about her. Is she real? Is she not? And then they start revealing some things like the Rani, like again, the Rani's return is one of those things that kind of skips over quite easily, like saying that there was literally that there was some sort of genetic instability thing, whether that was the death particle or something else, I don't know. But then basically she said whatever happened, she switched to alter her DNA for that second and then switched back, so like very, very easily brushed over that in the script. So like that's one of the things that they kind of really skip over so they can move on with the plot. But then she says Time Lords, they are sterile, they don't have children. This is kind of a big reveal. It's important for the plot. It kind of is a bit sad as well, because that the Doctor has the granddaughter Susan, who appeared before but didn't appear in this episode as I thought she was, only again on screens and things like that. So they didn't give an explanation about why she's the granddaughter if they cannot have children. And of course, I'll never forget that David Tennant's Doctor said, I was a dad once. Who knows? we never know. Doctor Who history is a bit complicated with this topic and other topics. But anyway, so basically the plan is to bring Omega back from the Underverse, use his body to create a whole new race of Time Lords in the Rani's image and doing whatever the Rani wants. Which I was like, okay, fine. So they spend a whole lot of time then trying to do this. And this is the thing, the Doctor then brings the Rani's like scooter or jet thing that because he copied her signature with the Sonic. Again, pretty cool, but yeah, a really, really cool, again, awesome scene in the cinema when the Doctor's flying through this battle that's happening as the Bone Beasts are attacking Unit, and he's just flying there, you know, the Doctor's music's playing, and that's how he gets back to the Bone Palace. Of course, then the Rani's like, don't you want to see Omega? Like, and he's like, yes, I want to see. So they open it, and then comes my biggest disappointment of this episode. The depiction of Omega, like, why? Like, surely, like, so much of the budget probably went on creating this CGI decomposing giant thing. Like, why? Like, surely it would be easier to just get a really, really good actor, you know, and not have any special effects on this. Surely it would have been even cheaper for the budget to have anybody appear and to have just the voice and have him in his iconic bucket helmet. I really wanted to see a modern depiction of a bucket helmet like that. You know, so his appearance, I was like, really, this is where we're going with Omega? Like, and then to make matters worse, in my opinion, Omega is such a massive villain in Doctor Who history, but he doesn't appear because, of course, you cannot really have this massive CGI thing appearing for very long, you know, I feel. So in the end, the Doctor's like, I need to... Well, first of all, Omega eats the Rani. Mrs. Flood, however, the Flood Rani, takes the bangle and disappears. So she's still around, which is cool because Anita Dobson is really nice as this character. But Arch Punjabi's Rani is gone. She's been eaten. Although there is scope for her to come back. What I was thinking then is that the way that the Doctor's like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? He backs up into the Vindicator and uses it as a sort of a gun, a massive weapon with the power of 100,000 supernovas or whatever it is, and just basically shoots Omega back into the hole that he crawled out of. You know, I was thinking like, this is where we're going with this. Like, Omega appears and then just like that, he's dealt with and he's not a problem anymore. So yeah, I was very disappointed with that. If it was me, I would have preferred, if Omega was only going to appear for 2 minutes, I would have preferred if Omega appeared in his bucket helmet and cape, snapped his fingers, made the Rani disappear, then takes the bangle himself and escapes. That's what I would have done, and then make him the villain in the future. Omega is alive and he's out there. But no. Either way, this is my biggest disappointment of the episode. For me, maybe they should not have used him as the villain. Maybe they should not have used him. Maybe they should have found some other way. I think it would have been less bittersweet. You know, nice that Omega was back, but you know, actually bitter because it was not satisfying for me. Either way, with Omega gone, it sort of again all happening at the same time. You've got Ruby, who managed to break through the Bone Palace with her teleport, which is like Project Indigo, which is like if I remember correctly, it's the one that Martha used way back when. Probably a bit more high tech now, but she teleports into the Bone Palace. What I thought actually was one of the hardest scenes that was in the episode was when she appears in Conrad's room, and Conrad's just straight up pointing a gun at her, and I thought that was very. It just took away from the sci-fi aspect of the whole thing, and like, wow, okay, he's actually pointing a gun at her, and I was like, this could go any way here. As it happens, she used the teleport to pick up the baby, wishes him happy, he disappears, and then wishes that the whole world, the wish was over, and then so it starts to dissipate. And then at this point in the episode, I was like, okay, it's slowing down now. The Rani's gone, Omega's gone, the Wish world is dissipating. And I was like, and Ncuti didn't actually get any fatal injury. And then he starts talking about like, oh, we're gonna go on adventures, and they open the box and they find that Belinda and Poppy were safe in the box. And then they were talking about going off on adventures and things like that. So in my head at that point, I was like, okay, maybe the rumors were not true. Maybe he is going to continue, because they made it seem like that. Little did I know that this slowing down of the pace of the episode was intentional, because then it started to become more about Poppy. Because as Ruby's there in the TARDIS with the Doctor and Belinda, they're passing Poppy's coat, and gradually gets smaller and smaller and folds away. Ruby's noticing this, and eventually the coat disappears. She turns around and Poppy has disappeared, and the cot that they were holding her in also disappeared, and the Doctor and Belinda forget about her. And Ruby, again, shows herself to be like a very talented actress. Like, she really, like, you can tell, like, she's really caring, and like you really feel every emotion that she's showing. Like, she's devastated with the fact that Poppy is gone and nobody seems to remember. And my first initial reaction was when the Doctor and Belinda were sort of being a bit unkind to her. Like, you can clearly see she's distressed about a situation. And the Doctor was like, nah, you've forgotten, like, you're remembering things wrong. And Belinda also is kind of dismissive of Ruby. And I was like, how can you be so dismissive of someone who looks so hurt and devastated? So I'm very glad that when they left the TARDIS back in the unit tower, that this continued, and she was like at all of the other unit staff asking if they remembered Poppy, because I was like, how, they cannot just let that go. Like, she looks devastated. It would be bad on Ruby. Ultimately, everyone doesn't remember up until a point where they start realizing that reality, like some things in reality were changed. So like Conrad is alive, but he's like back and he's got a job and he's like oblivious to everything that happened. And other things, like little tiny things that like creeped in the reality war, the splitting of reality and the blending of realities. Eventually, you know, this goes on a little bit, and then the Doctor is convinced that it needs to be done something, but apparently the power only comes one way. At one point I was like, oh, this is going to be season 3. The season 3 is going to be the search for Poppy. He'll be scouring all of time and space for Poppy, but no, it's going to be, it did feel like it was setting up this story arc, but then it came that the only way to look through the universe that's like 1 degree out of sync was to use the power of the last of the Time Lords, meaning regeneration energy. So in the TARDIS, now here's the thing, comes this like, this is where the episode starts to go like a bit nuts and a bit vague and a bit like definitely setting up future events, because what happens then is kind of massive and cataclysmic in the story. Doesn't go into details, but probably will in the future. He uses his like regeneration energy and literally points it at the TARDIS console until it explodes, and literally reality smashes, like, and things like that. Like literally you can see glass shattering from the screen of the cinema, like, or wherever you're watching. So like, that's massive. Like, who knows what effects that's going to have. Then comes before that, amazing cameo by the 13th Doctor. Was not expecting her to show up in any way, shape or form. But I thought this was such a wonderful cameo to have her Doctor specifically being the one to talk with Ncuti and warn him about the effects of what he's going to do. And then like just the way that they interact with each other was very heartwarming, and you love to see this kind of thing. And I was not expecting her Doctor to appear again kind of so soon in such a way, but it was really good to see. Of course, then reality shatters and he wakes up in a garden, Belinda's garden, and finds that Poppy was always her daughter, at least in this version of the reality. And when she went to get home, she was always looking to get home to Poppy, you know, because she works, and then, you know, her mum was watching her and things like that. and it's not the Doctor's daughter. She had a relationship off screen mentioned, and basically that's her child in that relationship, 100% human. And that's kind of that loose end. So all being well, you know, the Doctor does say goodbye, but he says maybe you'll see me again, just not with this face. So a lot of this is open for characters to return to meet the next Doctor, which happens then next in the episode. And it was coming to this point where Ncuti goes into the TARDIS, he has his like little monologue of goodbye, but not like before when the 13th Doctor was with him. It looked like he was choosing a face, and then the Doctor points at a face and is like, maybe if we, you know, do this magic, this one will be, and then he agrees with her. So later on in the TARDIS, he's regenerating, and I swear these regenerations are getting bigger and bigger every time. Like the amount of energy, he's like in space, and the energy is like massive sized. And at this point, I was wondering, I was like, okay, they keep on panning off, like they show him regenerating, and they pan off to see the light of the energy on the TARDIS, and I was like, are they going to fade to black, or are they going to end it there? Then they show him again regenerating, and then you show him like in space as the energy is flying off him, and I was like, are they going to end it there and not show who's going to be the next Doctor? Then they showed his face, and then they show his face getting even brighter, and like you can't see his face anymore, and I was like, are they going to end it there and not show who's going to be the next Doctor? Then the light fades and the cinema goes nuts, goes absolutely nuts. And I've recorded, like we have a recording of this, so I'm going to post it as a cinema reaction. Who should appear but Billie Piper, the actress who played Rose all those years ago, firm fan favourite companion. Ncuti regenerates into Billie Piper, and Billie Piper is the 16th Doctor. How about that? And that's how it ends. The episode just ends like that. So the future is this, you know? The Doctor Who will not go away. Like, people are talking, maybe it'll go away for a hiatus now before they film the new season. Maybe it will be a year or two. But you cannot, like, put down Doctor Who. It's not going to be cancelled. They'll find a way, like, surely after this. Like, it just, you cannot kill this show. It will come back, and it will come back, and it will come back, and it will try to do different things. This time, it's bringing back a companion as the Doctor. It's going to be interesting. Like, I don't see how not. Because when it was David Tennant, it was all like, why did David Tennant come back? They don't have that anymore. He chose the face of Rose. So it's not like, why am I Rose? Rose is the Doctor now. Like, Billie Piper is the 16th Doctor. So she's going to play it now as the Doctor. So I'm very excited to see this. I think it's going to be very exciting. And we'll just wait and see. We wait and see if the Disney deal gets renewed. We wait and see if it doesn't, whether, like, when filming picks up. The future is there. Until then, we have the spin-off coming maybe this end of this year. Who knows? Again, really looking forward to it. Showed the trailer. Looks pretty good. I'm very excited. Different kind of aspect. Hasn't been a spin-off for a long time, so I'm very excited about that. Let's wait and see. I post what you think down in the comments below. Let me know everything you thought. Overall, like, I thought it was a really good finale. Hits the emotional levels, like, ties all of these kind of like ends of the series arc together, builds up the future, sets the future up. Few like story nitpicks as they speed up the story because they cannot spend a lot of time talking about a few things. Omega, my biggest disappointment. Overall, I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10. I'm giving it an 8 because, like, Omega, I was devastated by this fact, but it did have this feeling of massive finale. Definitely better than last year's finale. Let's see. I'm excited for the future, and yeah, that's all for now. I will probably come back when the war between the land and the sea is on. I don't think anybody knows really what to expect on this, so I'll be doing reviews for this and whenever Doctor Who comes back. So thanks very much for joining me on these videos. It's been a pleasure. always like to read your comments and respond to them and have a chat with you in discussion. So hope to see you again. Like and subscribe. And with all that's done, I will see you next time. Bye.